Welcome back to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. Before we get rolling, just a quick reminder, make sure you're subscribed for $5 a month on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube so you never miss an episode. If you're coming to the Washington game or the home opener, we've got a limited run of Aggie Pride podcast hats, only a handful left. You can grab one at AggiePridePodcast.com and select game day pickup as your delivery option. And you can track us down in person in Seattle to pick it up. And of course, follow along with us on Instagram and X for behind-the-scenes updates and clips throughout the season, especially during this trip. Today's episode is special. We have Washington native, former Bellevue High School and Oregon coach and Yale football player Matt Coombs, who's our defensive coordinator. He actually joins Bobby Erskine and I about halfway through as Bobby joins as our co-host for this episode. So hope you enjoy it and check it out. Heading to Seattle to cheer on the Ags this September, join the Cal Aggie Alumni Association for a pregame tailgate at Husky Stadium. Tailgate and ticket packages are on sale now at alumni.ucdavis.edu/events. Also, spend homecoming week with the Cal Aggie Alumni Association. Starting on October 8th, CAAA is hosting a variety of events, including the annual Friday Night Social at Sudworth Brewing. Check out all events at alumni.ucdavis.edu/homecoming. The Aggie Football Fund provides essential gap funding for the UC Davis football program, empowering the team to access vital resources for player development and program success. It also reconnects and engages former football alumni to maintain the legacy of Aggie Pride and perpetuity. Through direct and flexible support, the AFF bridges funding gaps while fostering a thriving alumni community. Visit AggieFootballFund.com for more information.
UC Davis football stands for tradition, teamwork, and having each other's back, especially when times get tough. That's why we're proud to partner with Bold, Paulsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson, a respected California law firm with over 55 years of experience helping families and businesses prepare for life's unexpected turns. Whether you're navigating estate planning, probate and trust matters, civil litigation, or elder law, the team at BPM&J offers clear, compassionate guidance through California's legal landscape. BPM&J is deeply rooted in Aggie Pride. The firm is led by Craig Judson, a double UC Davis alum, and the Sacramento office is supervised by his son, Scott Judson, former Aggie Pack MC and past president of the UC Davis Cal Aggie Alumni Association. 4 other attorneys in the firm are also proud Aggies. From starting a family to managing assets or honoring a loved one's legacy, Scott, Craig, and the BPM&J team are here to help with confidence, care, and compassion. Their services include estate planning, such as wills, trusts, and powers of attorney, incapacity and elder law planning, probate and trust administration and litigation, conservatorships and guardianships, and general civil litigation. With offices in Walnut Creek and Sacramento, BPM&J serves clients throughout California. Visit bpmnj.com to schedule a free consultation. And this season, listeners of the Aggie Pride podcast will receive an exclusive $500 discount on the preparation of a comprehensive estate plan. Just mention the podcast when you book your free consultation with either Scott or Craig. Please note this message does not constitute legal advice. For personalized guidance, contact BPM&J directly. The firm's attorneys are licensed only in California. Bold, Paulsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson. Powered by Aggie Pride.
Welcome back to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. We are not in the colleges at LaRue. We're in our own homes-ish. And I have a pretty special guest today. He's a former roommate, of course, former teammate. And I could go and give like the full Bobby Erskine bio because it's a pretty good one. He was a team MVP in 2011, which I reminded when we were playing a bad game of golf. And he was like, "What? I won team MVP?" I'm like, "Yeah, you did." All decades team for the 2010s. And just probably one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. So welcome to the show, Bobby Erskine. What's up, dude?
What a welcome. Yeah, man, it's fun to reminisce, and it's great what you guys have done with the podcast, and I'm excited to join.
Well, for those who are like true diehards, they actually have heard you before, because when we played Cal, it's kind of interesting because this is our FBS game this year, Washington. But when we played Cal last year, you came to the game. You were our producer, in air quotes, and we finagled you into the Cal press box. Just the goal or the idea that people need to understand is you just walk in confidently anywhere and you just get into places. And so you just walked in confidently with your big broad shoulders and they believed you were our producer and it worked. Whereas this time you're actually the co-host, so you're actually going to get media credentials for the Washington game. But you joined the Cal pod for like the post game. We were driving through Berkeley on the way home, and that was kind of an interesting game. We competed really well for the first half, but we want to start with, for those who don't know you, I know a lot of our listeners do and are familiar with kind of your UC Davis career, but for those who don't know your career, just kind of given like your 2 to 3 minute UC Davis story, your career at UC Davis, how you got there, how it went, and that sort of thing. So I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. Well, it's very flattering. So I went to a school, all boys private school in San Diego. It's kind of one of those, it's not quite LA football, but San Diego football, is we got some guys, and I was a pretty good linebacker coming out of high school. I actually got an offer, a written offer to Washington. So it's pretty opportune that I'm doing this co-hosting this week. It's kind of a funny little coincidence there, but yeah. So I was offered by Washington, and frankly didn't know much about Davis at all. I got some other offers, and one thing led to another, and somehow I found myself at Davis. And what the key difference maker for me was that I can get a great education and actually play right away. So yeah, offered by Washington, and we won our championship CIF in San Diego, and I ultimately decided I was going to go to Davis because I knew I was going to get a world-class education. I knew that if I got hurt, that I'd at least have that education, and thank God, because I got plenty of concussions. So it all worked out. But yeah, some of my best friends and closest friendships are from my time in Davis. And, that whole Aggie Pride and the thing we talk about in the name of your podcast, I mean, it's a real thing, and it sticks with you, and it's something you live. And felt kind of corny at the time. And I was like, man, what is this about? And it's just resonated so much more as I've gotten older. And seeing the Aggies now and seeing how fun it is. But yeah, I mean, you and I coming up, there was some guys on scholarship, there was some guys that were not on scholarship. I think majority of the team, there was a turning of the guard where guys started, we started bringing some real talent. We always had talent, but to the degree that people weren't just playing for the love of the game anymore. We were actually getting some really good guys, and guys that, but we all had that Aggie pride. We all wanted to be there and actually play because we believed in what we were doing, and we knew under Bob Biggs we had something special. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I mean, I had a pretty good career.
Yeah, what are some of the highlights that kind of stand out to you? I know you were a year behind me technically, but you, like you said, you played early. And so by the time I was playing, I feel like we were on that starting or like very high contributing unit for a handful of years. Some of, I don't know, any like highlights kind of come to mind, games or experiences, for yourself?
Yeah, my welcome, or one of my welcomes to college football and really playing against great competition. We were playing against Keenan Allen at Cal, and that was a time where we knew he was good. We didn't know he was going to be Keenan Allen good. And I distinctly remember a play where they threw a screen pass to him, I had a really good angle
I
on
did
him. I
too.
was like,
I
I'm
did
gonna
too,
light this.
dude. I swear.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I knew I was gonna light him up, but his strides were uh unlike anything I've ever seen. And he ended up pulling away and I just dove at his feet and totally whiffed, ate dirt, and I was welcome to
Yep.
college football. No, people are much better than you, and you get humbled quick, and you learn, and you get confident, and figure out on your own. But yeah, I had my guys rally around me, and but that was a distinct game that I really remember. That was
Yeah.
something I won't forget.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because like you and Andrew Benjamin, who is the other D tackle, um, we're close buddies. Obviously, we lived together with Dwight for a year or two, but I remember all three of us like starting, three out of the four guys starting that game, and huge crowd at Cal. For me, being a NorCal guy, that was like dream scenario. I know for you, still playing like a in-state team was cool. Another memory that comes to mind, dude, is the USD game where and maybe actually, I think you got like a weird knee thing. What happened? And this is maybe a bad memory, but like, what the hell happened there? Because I remember we went into the ocean and you were like trying to ice your knee or something. You could punt this one because it might be a sore subject, but I all of a sudden I'm remembering because that
No,
was your homecoming, whereas like Cal was kind of like my homecoming and where I grew up.
yeah, that year, so I had the fun experience of getting a staph
Uh,
infection
that's
in my knee, and it happens. I mean, I actually was pretty good about taking showers,
right.
but um, I had a I had a quarterback that actually the week before cracked me and went into my knee, and um, my knee went right into the turf, and apparently that turf is just
Yep.
covered in staph, and so I was on about 3 days of antibiotics, just an IV, and that was not a fun experience. But I had a great staff at UC Davis, and they did a great job, and made sure I kept my leg. So
Crazy, dude.
that was a
Great
positive.
staff, taking care of the staff. I remember the signs in Hickey. You remember old Hickey Gym? There were like the MRSA signs to just scare tactic us to like making sure we are perfectly clean and stuff. Well, let's kind of like slowly transition to, and it always feels like we're kind of robbing people. It felt like this with Danny last week too. People got, I mean, we could tell stories for days, dude. And if some come to mind, like go for it because I think those are the things that people resonate with the most or like relate to the most. Um, but I do want to kind of get another story because you said like very opportune that we're playing Washington. And I remember that early on learning that you were gonna go to Washington and like it fell through and you ended up having this like very unique East Coast like boarding school football experience and then coming back to the West Coast of UC Davis. But I mean, when you came in right away, it was like, oh, this dude's like athletically on another level than a lot of guys in on the team. And so talk to me and our listeners about like just what it was like to go through the recruiting process and then specifically like the Washington experience and even like the visit and like what the facilities were like because I know for some people who are listening they're going to go to the game and they're like all excited and then for others they just want to vicariously live through the listened experience. So talk to us about like the Washington recruiting story for yourself.
Yeah, I could go way back. I mean, I was about this size since about eighth grade. I was pretty big and pretty physical on the field, and yeah, got the eye of Ty Willingham. There was actually a D coordinator named Kent Bayer at Washington, and he was saw something in me and was willing to give me a written offer, and so took the trip. Ty Willingham, very stoic guy. He was previously at Notre Dame. Um, I was kind of starstruck. I was a massive fan, and um, he took me to the stadium. I was blown away by their facilities. Couldn't believe what, it was a dream come true for me, truly. And it was my junior year. I was pretty confident I'd get a lot more Pac-10 offers. And I got some other, some whack offers, SDSU and a bunch of other teams. And, but pretty much by the time, I had a really good junior year, really good senior year, by all expectations, I thought I'd get a lot more offers. And that's, the experience of, I think, a lot of guys, they get a good offer and coaches tell you one thing, they say, hold out, we're getting you close, we'll get you an offer. And so I was fairly naive about the whole recruiting process and actually thought that some coaches that were looking out for me were actually just kind of stringing me along. And, it all worked out. But at the time, it was a pretty
Yeah.
severe blow. So I was thinking like, well, shoot, do I go to a JUCO? Do I do another shot at, the recruiting process? And, on the East Coast, they have these things called prep schools, which foreign concept, out of the West Coast, but on the East Coast, it's very common. Lacrosse players, hockey players, very common, but it's what they call a postgraduate year. So it didn't actually affect my eligibility at all. And yet I got to play another year of football and just beat up on high school kids. So, so from that regard, I was pumped. But ultimately wanted to come back to the West Coast. Davis was recruiting me, and I was just like, you know what? I want my family to be able to travel to games. I want to get a great education, and really glad it all worked out that way. But yeah, that's again, I have a kind of a roundabout way of playing. I was fortunate to play pretty early, and separate from Achilles tear at the end of my career, I had a pretty decent career, and just had an amazing experience.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's no denying, like, I feel like you are well respected by a lot of people, both from an administration perspective, which that it brings to mind another thing that I wanted to bring up. And then obviously guys we played with and people younger and older, and having an opportunity to reconnect with people at games and whatnot. Like, we went to one game together last year, which was fun. And, there's just like, I think you have like the type of friendly spirit that people just gravitate towards. And I think there's no, that MVP award is also the most inspirational, which is kind of unique. Not every program couples most valuable with most inspirational, but I think it makes a lot of sense that you got that award when you played, because I mean, I just even remember like your attention to detail in a lot of like the pre and post stuff, like recovery and nutrition and taking care of your body. And we've connected, like, as we both have become more and more self-aware, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, like, and just kind of continue to grow up. Like, we both have talked about, like, okay, like, well, maybe I was a little obsessive about that back then, and maybe, and that sort of thing. But it makes me think of you being on the search committee after Coach Biggs retired, and you guys were a very like small group, and yet you were the student athlete representative of that group. I guess for folks who don't even know, like, what was it like being on that search committee? And just like kind of, yeah, what kind of honor was that for you to be selected for that very special group of people?
Yeah, it was an unbelievable honor. I had the head of the business school there. I had the athletic director. I think there was an assistant AD, and then me. So I was like,
That's it.
I am not in a position to make this decision, and I kind of felt the weight of it, but also what a responsibility and what an opportunity for me to actually help, hopefully affect the university in the direction of football in a positive way. So It was an interesting experience. I remember actually Coach Hawk interviewing, and his fiery self during that interview process, and I was like, "This is our guy." Um, I would go to war for this guy and voice that to anyone and everyone. Um, and it was, but it's a really special honor. I mean, I still, just have very fond memories of that. Was actually after I tore my Achilles. So it was kind of like, I still had a way to give back in a way and contribute, even though, it was a pretty significant blow personally to, pretty much lose your entire senior season after a pretty nasty tear like that. So, um, it was unbelievable. It was a great experience, and I have very fond
Yeah.
memories of that. One thing I do recall about, just being fanatical about, I used to cut the fat off of chicken breasts, and I was like, what a psycho I was at times, and I was fanatical about, the whole defense. We were the Lost Boys. We all had long hair. We had guys like Danny Hart, just fiery guys that, just hit hard, weren't maybe the biggest ego types, but just wanted to have fun, do it for your boys, and just fly around. And I think that's what Blue Force was and is. And I think that's kind of, what we see today with Blue Force. So, and I gotta say, one thing about the stark contrast between going to, like, Washington's facilities, and then I went on my official visit. I actually got stuck in the airport coming from the East Coast. It was a school in Connecticut. I got stopped in Chicago Midway and had to sleep there. And then the next day made it to Davis. And I do not recall ever seeing the Hickey Stadium or locker room at all. They tended to omit that. And that ended up being
smart.
Yeah. So strategically, they were very smart on actually not showing us where our locker rooms and facilities were. But what a way we've come, and where it's at now, and just to see kind of, we helped lay some of that groundwork, and it's just it's a beautiful thing. It's really cool to see and be a part of, and see kind of just where it's come so far.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just heard some analysts talking about Portland State, which when we played Portland State, they were still playing in that downtown soccer stadium, which was actually a pretty dope stadium. The Portland Timbers play there, and it's since been renovated and it's even nicer, but they don't play there anymore. They play in like a community stadium, like way outside of Portland. There's only stands on one side. It's an atrocious Division I college football stadium. Sorry, Portland State people. And they were saying on the ESPN broadcast, because they actually played on ESPN the same day that we watched the Mercer game together, that they will intentionally like not bring recruits there as well, because they don't even want to show their stadium to the recruits. The good news about Davis is like, we have no problem bringing our recruits to our practice field, our locker room, our football training facility, our weight room's 10,000 square feet, and it's friggin' beautiful. And our stadium, even when we played, it has always actually been pretty nice. It's small, but as we know, like, it's a nice stadium. And so it's interesting to hear you say that. Like, I never had the recruiting experience that you had. The only sliver I had of that was I was such a goody two shoe Christian kid in college that they paired me. I don't know if you remember this, with like a Mormon dude he ended up going to BYU, but they literally paired me with him because they're like, well, Brock doesn't drink. Like, he would be perfect to pair with this guy. Like, he will not take him to parties. He will take him to, like, Zia's Delicatessen downtown, and they'll just eat some tomato basil mozzarella sandwiches and talk about their feelings, which I probably did, and he didn't commit. So there you go. I think like I don't know where to take it other than go for it. If that,
I thought you were talking about Clayton
No,
Tunney, but
he
I
left to
believe
UCLA. Actually, that came up in the last episode. Daniel Furrow mentioned him. No, there was
no
like
kidding.
another guy who was a really good player. I mean, he went to BYU. So it would have been like a good get. And that was the only recruit that I ever entertained. Whereas like you probably always had a recruit to entertain because you were a leader on the team and good with that sort of thing. And me, no, they're like, dude, just we'll give him the guy who we know is going to BYU just so that he keeps him out of trouble. All right. Well, Coach Scott Coombs is going to join any minute. And for those who listened last year and who are diehards, Coach Coombs is from Bellevue, Washington, which is right across the water from Husky Stadium in Seattle. He's a G. We love him. He's a really smart coach, Yale, educated and had a successful, career at Bellevue High School coaching as well. And then had a cup of coffee at Oregon before he came to us. And Coach Hawk, who you talked of and who you were like all about during that search committee process, is the one who brought him to Davis. And honestly, our defense and Blue Force has been so elite since we got him. So we're pumped that Coach Coombs is coming on. He is going to be here in a few minutes, but Bobby and I do want to give like and we might have to do it after the interview too, Bob, just timing wise, but we want to kind of give our own little Washington preview. And like a early season takeaways because we watched the Mercer game together. I know we got a chance to watch the Utah Tech game as well. And just some of the things that have stood out to you that you're kind of watching. But I will start with my Washington takeaways. So always unique when you play an FBS team. And I put something out on social today. We have beaten 4 FBS teams, or I should say we've won 4 FBS games. We've actually beat San Jose State twice, Stanford, and Tulsa out of our last 20 games, which I don't know. 20% is pretty solid if you really think about it when these teams are paying us to come play them. And so is this another upset? I don't know. I think this is probably one of the toughest FBS games that we've played. I mean, Bob, 2 years ago, Washington went to the national championship to play against your Jay Harbaughs. And were you at that game?
Yeah, I was. And that was a nice butt kicking by Michigan to beat Washington. So,
Okay,
but I
so
was at that game.
maybe
That was
this
an
is a nice
unbelievable game.
moment. And again, maybe Coach Coombs is going to come on at any point, so we'll just play it by ear. But this is a nice moment to maybe talk about the weekend too. Like this, and you can talk about it as much or as little as you want, but like Bobby's San Diego born and raised. There's some people who used to live in San Diego and coach there who you might know. And now they coach all over the place, including up in Seattle. But the fact that you have that connection and that we're going to the Niners game on Sunday and that we're going back to where you got recruited and that your best freaking friend is the special teams coordinator first to the Seahawks, like I know that he's humble and you're a humble guy and probably don't want to like bring attention to it, but like pretty unique that you have stayed that close with the Harbaugh family and that the last time you saw Washington, you literally saw them at their peak. And dude, that was not long ago. So I don't know if there's anything that you feel like would be fun to kind of talk about in that regard, but I just feel like those connections, again, going to this weekend, it's so cool that you're going to be able to be there for all of it.
Yeah, no, Jay, Jim's son, oldest son, Jay Harbaugh. We actually played at St. Augustine's together. We actually went to the prep school together. He ended up actually going on to Oregon State and decided to coach right away. And yeah, we grew up together. We played Pop Warner. I used to ball boy for USD when Jim Harbaugh was there, and they're great people. And it was him and I are. We were awkward, weird, acne prone kids and didn't know how to talk to girls and figured out a way. But yeah, we go way back and I'm going to see him this weekend. I'm really stoked. And it's just kind of crazy how it all worked out with, this Washington game. And it's going to be a great weekend.
Yeah, and so that kind of takes me back to like this current iteration of the Washington Huskies. So like 2 years ago, Kalen DeBoer is the head coach. Everyone knows that name who's listening to our podcast because he's now the Alabama head coach. He obviously took over for Nick Saban. Of course, everyone knows that name. And so Washington hires Jed Fish, who was the Arizona head coach, who had a really dynamic, explosive offense at Arizona and turned them into like a decent Pac-12 team as the Pac-12 was dying and going extinct. Of course, Arizona's now in the Big 12. But Washington is about to start their second season in the Big 10. And last year, under Jed Fish, they had like an probably or disappointing year. I mean, to go to being the national champion finalist. Aggie Pride is proud to partner with JG Graphics in Rancho Cordova, the spot for custom apparel, embroidery, and printing. Aggie alum Pete Povey and his team helped us design and produce our Aggie Pride hats, and the quality is next level. If you need gear for your business team or next big event, Pete will take care of you from first idea to final stitch. Support a fellow Aggie and check them out at jg.graphics or visit their shop in Rancho Cordova. Bank like a champion when you bank with University Credit Union. UCU is the official credit union of UC Davis and is committed to giving every UC Davis student, faculty, staff, and alum a financial advantage. From low loan rates and financial coaching to high savings rates, including our new Elite Certificate Special, University Credit Union helps you reach your financial goals. Visit ucu.org for details. Use promo code Aggie Pride Podcast to get started. University Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. This episode is sponsored by the Larison Real Estate Team, Bob and Jan Larison. You already know the name. They've been incredible supporters of UC Davis football, this podcast, and of course, they're Land's parents, now cheering him on as he suits up for the New England Patriots. Off the field, Bob and Jan are one of the top real estate teams in the region, helping folks buy and sell across Idaho and Eastern Oregon. Whether it's a home, land, or investment property, they bring experience, hustle, and heart to every deal. So if you're looking to make a move or just want honest guidance, check out larisonteam.com or follow them on Instagram at Larison Real Estate. Huge thanks to Bob and Jan for backing Aggie Pride. We've got a new home for Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. Visit AggiePridePodcast.com. It's the hub for everything. All our episodes, ways to subscribe for early access, and our brand new Aggie Pride classic hats in navy or beige. While you're there, sign up so you never miss an update, and follow us on all our socials for game day content, throwbacks, and behind the scenes. And don't forget, like, follow, and share the pod so we can keep growing the Aggie fan community. Coach Coombs! How are you, man?
What's going on? I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm here with Bobby Erskine. He played, I don't know if you've met Bobby before. He was a D end, and I mean, he was a team MVP from 2011. So, Bobby, meet Coach Coombs.
How you doing, Coach Coombs?
Good, Bobby. Nice to meet you.
So, you guys have not met. So, this is the first time.
I can't see the camera. Maybe we have.
And yeah, his camera, but yeah, you're frozen to us right now. But it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so Bob, and we were just talking about it, Coach. Bob was San Diego high school kid, St. Augustine, and then grew up with the Harbaughs. His best friend is Jay Harbaugh. Actually had an offer from Washington and a bunch of FBS schools. And then the recruitment process went wonky at the end and ends up going to a prep school back east and then ending up at UC Davis after that and was like team captain multiple years. And he even, his senior year, they put him on the search committee as like one of 4 people on the search committee to find the next head coach of UC Davis after Coach Biggs retired. So he's he's a big deal around here.
Big deal. Yeah. And I feel like if I haven't met you, then I should have. Yeah. So I apologize. Your name is very familiar, so it's not that I've never heard stories.
You're too kind. You're too kind, Coach Coombs.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate the background.
Well,
Yeah.
and for those who are diehard listeners, they know you, Coach, because you were on last year. And actually, the episode you were on last year, I was in the same place. We go to Newport Beach every Labor Day week, and so I'm in a random condo in Newport Beach right now, suffering, but getting really excited to come to Seattle and see the Coombs fam and see a tailgating experience at Husky Stadium, which I know is going to be epic, but you guys have quite the work ahead of yourselves, which is why we're getting on so late. You're probably way deeper into the film than Bobby and I have been, but just in the little that we've watched, we're like, whew, yeah, this team was in the national championship at the FBS level a couple years ago. They got some burners all over the place, but to give a formal introduction, we have Defensive Coordinator Coach Matt Coombs on with us today. Coach, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, we kind of want to start with just like a personal check-in, more like open-ended. Like, how's life in Davis? Like, you're at year 6 or 7 now. How are you enjoying coaching the Aggies? And then maybe for like some more specifics, like, what are you enjoying most about the coaching experience right now? And like, what challenges are you also kind of having to navigate? Because you coach for a while and sometimes things can get a little grindy and a little tough. So yeah, maybe like some highs and lows of where you're at as a coach right now.
Yeah. I think the highs for us really since last season ended, we have a lot of new faces defensively. And so trying to figure out who does what well, and put guys in position to be successful has been a new challenge. I think the Jackson Cloyds and Zach Kennedys and Kavir, there's a ton of guys that really had been here for my entire tenure, and those guys are gone, and it seemed like there was a number of them, and so it's been really fun just trying to get everybody up to speed on how we want to play football, probably more so than anything scheme related, but hey, this is how we win the pre-snap. This is how we tackle. This is how we defeat blocks. This is what our expectations as far as pursuit. And, I think really going back to, we're always talking about fundamentals and basics, but really kind of re-going through the standard and what our expectations are defensively has been a real challenge in a good way. It's been fun. And then, things that, I've enjoyed. I think we have tremendous staff defensively. Coach Taylor and Coach Brady, you can see the run game production. Those guys are huge and have a big hand in that. Coach Hicks, Rex has been a great player for a while, but Kavir a year ago, and now you got a number of new faces that are playing at what do you feel like is a really high level. Coach Jordan and the corners, Drew and Ty, and that whole room has really made a ton of strides, and so that part has been fun working with those guys, and really I think we're all kind of developing together, but they all have a huge hand in what we're doing. So, that's been a good challenge, and really just the guy. It's a great group of guys. Like, we are really fortunate that we have some really hardworking guys. I think of like Jaden Stanley, Trent Carrod, Sam, Jake Williams, Rain, guys that have been around for a little while that are really the types of guys that are fun to coach. And Rex and Porter, they play the game how ideally we would all want to play it if we could. But you have a lot of guys that really are bought in, and we've been really fortunate with either the freshmen or the transfers that they all have a hardworking mentality and they want to win. And so seeing those guys all gel together and come together as a unit has been really fun. And that is every year's a new challenge. Every week's a new challenge. And I think the newness of all the players is just, it's been really exciting. It's a really fun group to coach, and I think there's a ton of potential there. I think we have a lot of work to do, but they're fun to be around. They come to work every day. They have high expectations of themselves. They prepare. They practice hard, and that's when it gets really enjoyable as a coach. So
Yeah, Coach Coombs, you speak to a lot of the confidence, and it's pretty evident, especially this last game, just coming from behind after losing the lead and getting the win. Ultimately, I think defense plays such a major part of that. I was struck by something Coach Plow said. He said this a few times in some of his press conferences, but he talks about believing you're good versus knowing you're good. And I really feel like the defense last week, especially coming from behind and showing that perseverance, show that they know they're good. And I think there's a subtle difference in that. But can you speak to just, I guess, the resilience of this defense? And you have some leaders, you've had some guys step in that are immediately making an impact. But I guess that resilience or philosophy that you've helped ingrain in them, can you speak to that a little bit?
yeah, I mean, it's really a credit to the players. I mean, they put the work in to the point where they feel like they're going to be successful every Saturday. They've done a lot of preparation, on their own time, and that's really been player led and player driven. And that's really paid off for us. Yeah. And I think that, confidence comes from preparation, and there's I think a real belief, not only in the defensive group, but the whole team that, at some point we're going to figure it out and turn this thing around. And, each unit, our job defensively is to go out and get stops. It doesn't matter if we're up 50-0 or we're down 50-0. Like, nothing that's going on around us really matters at the end of the day. So we try to just keep it simple. We'll go sit on the bench. We'll correct the things that we need to correct. We'll get back on the field, and the goal and the objective really doesn't change. So, I think that's easier said than done. I think what I was really impressed with was the group. Really, there was no flinch. When the offense was scoring touchdowns, guys were up celebrating. When we were giving up touchdowns, the guys were coming over and high five and be like, "Hey, we got your back. It's going to be all right." And I think they just, regardless of what is happening, they feel like at the end of the day, they can go out there and execute and do their jobs and do it well enough to be able to end up on the right side of the scoreboard. So that was a really cool night for a lot of reasons, especially for a younger team or an inexperienced team, to be able to come together like that was really cool.
Well, Coach, it's evident you're talking about, like, hey, not flinching, and Bobby's question even about just that resilience. And I've said this before on the pod, but just a coach's demeanor, it's such a model for the athletes that are being coached by him. And that's always something that stood out about yourself for me, is demeanor. And even before you hopped on, Bobby and I were talking, and he was like, "Yeah, I listened to your episode with him last year. Like, different vibe than like Coach Johnson, who was our DC, who was like a lose your voice DC, who I loved. I mean, he loved us. He's a great guy, but he was a lose your voice DC. And you feel very much like in that, like, Jim Soker, Bob Biggs, like, teacher model of a coach. Like, I guess, is that how you describe yourself as a coach? And I'm also just interested, like, where do you get this from? Like, where do you feel like your ability to remain calm or like kind of have that vibe during a game is from? And I probably asked you something similar last year, but again, it just kind of strikes me as we get to spend a little bit of time with you.
Yeah. I think, I on Saturday, I try to be calm, cool, collected. Coach Plow always talks about being the cornerman for our players there in the fight, and we're doing everything we can to kind of help support them and guide them through it, and proactively get ahead of problems that might pop up. I just really believe that good football comes down to fundamentals. The things that will get me fired up are if we're not running to the football. Like if we don't have 11 guys lined up before the ball is snapped, I will that's completely controllable, and that is all effort. And if we are not sprinting to the ball, we have production is at the football. Like we need to all get there. And so there are some just like I talked about how we play earlier, what it looks like on film. It should be loud. It should be physical. There should be 11 guys running around. And, those are the things that I really try to emphasize and really reiterate as often as I can, that just the value in doing that consistently. And the rest of it is, we got to coach it up better or teach it better, or, find guys that can execute it better. I don't know. It's just like, there's always an answer to whatever's happening out there. And it's our job to figure that out and help the players with that. So I don't know where I've been really fortunate, just in my coaching career and football playing career. I've been at a lot of places that, had really good head coaches, had really good position coach, like they were just well coached, won consistently. And it's I don't know, it doesn't benefit anybody if I'm losing my cool on the sideline. And I can make a point in practice if one needs to be made, but at that time it's all on the players. It's their show, and we're there to help them and try to put them in as good a position as we can. And I like to think that I can try to stay calm, cool, collected on the sideline. I don't know if the defensive staff would always agree with that.
If we're in the headset, it might be getting a little dicey, certain down and distances.
Yeah, I mean, there's a competitive nature to it. I think everybody's competitive and wants to do well. But yeah, it's, we have a good mix too. We have some guys that are pretty fiery. We have some guys that are emotional. We have some guys that'll, that are a little more high energy than I am. And so I think it's a good balance. And I think we have a lot of players that, they when it's time to go, they're going to go and they're going to play hard. But I think that's, they have good perspective about how to get the job done and how to do that consistently over time. And I think a lot of that's neutral mindset and, trying to not get too high, not get too low, and just keep pushing. So,
well, Coach, what you're doing is working. So it's you're doing a phenomenal job. But yeah, I mean, I guess another question about what drives you personally. Coaches come from all walks of life. They're different personalities. I guess what was your motivation for coaching? And also, what do you see as the pinnacle for you for coaching? Is it as far as being with the Aggies? Do you have NFL aspirations? Just curious on that front.
Yeah. I think my motivation is, I didn't really want to know what I wanted to do when I graduated college. I went to a good school. I feel like I'm similar to a lot of our players, from the standpoint of was playing Division I football in the Ivy League, was getting a good education, but I didn't really, use that as well as I should have. I felt like I was going to get a really good degree, play some football, figure it out next from there. And I wasn't, I didn't have the greatest habits. Let's just say I had a great time. I played a little bit of football, probably not as much as I should have, but I think there's some real, so anyway, so to back up, I just, the former high school coach asked me to come help, started doing it. And a couple years went by, and that was kind of what got me up out of bed every morning. And as I kind of thought more about it, I was single, and I felt like I had a lot to teach from just work ethic, preparation, just habits in general, because my college experience was something I look back on, and I don't know if I regret is probably not the right word, but I definitely think I wasn't mature enough to handle it in the way that would have been most beneficial for my future. And so I love football. I love competing, but to be able to help guys navigate being independent and trying to figure things out on their own and trying to develop habits that will make them successful once they're done playing here is really something that, I feel like I could add a lot of value because I feel like I didn't do it the right way, And so, that's something that's really important to me. And then the pinnacle for me, so it's funny this week that I'm here. I grew up going to Husky Stadium. Like, I remember being in the stands. I think I was 5 years old in 1990, and the Huskies beat Todd Marinovich and the USC Trojans 30-0. He said all I saw was purple after the game, and I remember those guys. Really, what stood out actually was like defensively. Those guys would take the field. They would be hooting and hollering and raising the roof or whatever they were doing, but the whole like upper deck was shaking. And as a 5-year-old kid, I was just jumping up and down, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And so that was where I really fell in love with football and just watching those guys play. And because I think they were such an energy about the place and a belief and a confidence that they were going to win. And so, I always thought I'd be the head coach of the University of Washington. Like, that would be the pinnacle for me. I think I've got a daughter now, and I'm engaged and really happy. And so that would be my dream. But the NFL, I've honestly never really thought about it. I'm sure, it'd be great. And there's a lot of perks to working in the NFL, but I've always seen myself as a college coach, and I really haven't thought of myself like anywhere outside of Davis. I really like working here. I have a ton of respect for Coach Plow and the staff. I really enjoy being around the staff every day, and so at some point maybe I'll be up in Seattle again. But like I don't know. You just try to do a good job where you're at, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, well, it's crazy. Like Bobby and I were saying again before you hopped on, it's an interesting weekend for him because I remember when Bobby came to Davis, he was a year younger than me, talking about thinking he was going to go to Washington and like kind of all the emotions that came about with that not working out and like the disappointment. And then this weekend's unique because, and I might have already said it with you, but one of Bobby's close friends is Jay Harbaugh, who's the special teams coordinator for the Seahawks. And so we're doing the double dip because we have to. We're going to Davis, Washington Saturday night, and then waking up and tailgating before Niner Seahawks and the beginning of the NFL 2025 season. So like we got a group text at Coach, and it's just called Football Heaven Weekend. And our wives just shake their heads when they hear us talking about this weekend over and over. But it's finally here. But it makes me think about you. Yeah. And it makes me think about, like, I remember last year you talking about Bellevue High School and just me knowing that program because of the De La Salle streak and because of how successful Bellevue was and you having multiple state championships there. But then going back to like your home turf, I remember playing Cal when I was a junior at Davis, and that was like everything for me. And there was 1 million people at the game because I grew up going to Cal games when I was 5, and seeing all of the different iterations of the Tedford era and beyond. But like, you're going home, like you're going to your home turf. And so the first part of the question is just the nostalgia, like personal, like how are you feeling? Like, how's the ticket count looking? Like, what are you looking forward to most, like coaching on that field? I don't know if Bellevue ever played on that field. But then the second part of the question is the professional part, which is like Jonah Coleman's a dude. Denzel Boston looks scary. The quarterback, I mean, is way too athletic. I remember watching him in the Sun Bowl last year, just being super impressed. But like, Colorado State's a pretty good team, and it was a good game last week. But like, professionally, like, how is it going preparing for this juggernaut offense?
Yeah. I think the quarterback is a tremendous athlete. Obviously you don't have to watch many snaps to figure that out. The tailback is really, really impressive. Just as good as we've seen. And, they got a productive receiver returning who's a really good player. They have some younger guys that I think are replacing some of the speed that they lost. And then I think the thing that really jumps out is their offensive line, and just the size and speed that those guys play with is, it's really impressive, and they do a great job. Obviously, they're really well coached, and so it'll be a tremendous challenge. I think we're doing everything we can to put a good plan together, and I think there's things that are going to be really important for us to do well if we want to have a chance to compete. And but I've been really proud of the preparation and the dedication. Like, our guys, I don't think they just want to go up there and be on TV and wave to people in the crowd. So they're preparing, like they want to go play well and go in and do everything they can. So we have a ton of respect for them. They're a great offense. They do a lot of things really well, and they have a really talented roster, and so it'll be a huge challenge for us. But that's why you play, and that's why you look forward to opportunities like these to really test yourself and see how well you can compete. So I don't know, all the other stuff I've just tried to not. It's not about me,
I knew
It's
you were gonna
about
say that.
the guys
I
and
knew
helping
you were
them
gonna.
be successful. And
Yeah.
there's just I'll get a chance to see family. I think the late kickoff stinks for my young nieces and nephews and everybody trying to go to the game, but it does mean I'll have a little time at the hotel, so I'll get to see them, and that'll be great. And everybody's everybody will be there, so that'll be fun to be able to spend some time with family for sure.
The understated personal answer is on brand, but appreciate it, Coach. I will.
Well, like there's just I mean, that's the truth of the matter. Is like I will be really I just have so many memories in that stadium. I've coached in that stadium when I was at Oregon. We played there, and that was cool, being on the sideline. So just a lot of memories. And it feels like I remember seeing this game on the schedule, I think when I first got here, and was like, oh man, that'd be really cool. And here it is. So we're going to give it everything we got.
And time flies, and you guys just announced the North Dakota State series and UCLA coming up, and I'm pumped for the SMU because of my Texas family in Dallas and next year. And there's cool matchups, and I think we put something out, and Coach Plow talked about in his press conference, like, and I know as a coach, you're like, I don't want the pressure. I don't want that out there in some ways, but like, we've had some success against FBS programs. And I think this Washington team is probably one of the best FBS programs we've played in the last 20 years, at least from my memory and looking at the film and stuff. But I want to close it out with kind of just like your check-in on some of the guys that have stood out to us. You being an Ivy League guy, it's interesting to me that you have two Ivy League guys up front, and I think there's no denying that, like, Jacob Syke is a difference maker and someone that stood out at the days that I went to fall camp and has had a really big impact. But you've brought in guys at a lot of different levels on the defensive side of the ball, all three levels ultimately. And I mean, even from not just the transfers, but like Drew Cofield at the cornerback position has been a huge impact. So just whether it's Nate or whether it's Jacob up front, like, just kind of talk to us and close out with some of the, I don't know, early season kind of takeaways for yourself on how the individual contributors on your D have been able to play so far.
Yeah. I mean, you said, I think Jacob Syke is he's a really talented player. I think he's really bright. He's just, he works hard, and I think he's got a good feel for the game. Like, he's made a couple plays that weren't necessarily, how we draw it up or what we talked about, but he knows exactly what's coming, and he can go use that to his advantage and be disruptive. And so I've been really excited for him. I think the coolest part about him is, he works hard. He wants to win. He's a good influence on everybody around him. And I think we lucked out with his ability as a football player, but we probably are benefiting more just by him being a great person. And I would say the same thing about Darrell. He's made some plays that, he's inside, so they're probably not as easy to see, but they've just been remarkable, whether he's rushing the passer or defeating a block and chasing a play down. Like there's been a couple that you're just kind of going, oh my God, that was really impressive. And more than anything, like Psych, just energy, gets people going. Darrell, really good in the preparation aspect. And I think he's had a great influence on the rest of the guys up front because, that was a big part of, their success at Dartmouth. So he's kind of brought that over. And Rain, Jake Williams, I could go name them, but Jaden Few is another freshman who's just been remarkable since he got here and is forced his way onto the field, just through the things he's done. Sam and Grant into the boundary, kind of a good mix of, I think, really talented football players that balance each other out well and have had both really productive moments. Nate, you mentioned it was some of the takeaway stuff. He's just got a knack for that. He's in here all the time asking for computers to watch film. And, the cool part about all those guys is they're good people. And what maybe started as just Nate watching film, now there's, 5 guys with him, so it's just their influence has been, it's really benefited everybody. And then, gosh, it seems like everybody's new, so I don't want to miss anybody. I think Jaden Stanley is a guy that can't go, for all of the good things that guys in the secondary have done. Jaden's really been a guy that's helped bring everybody along. And as he's developed into he's on our leadership council, but as he's developed as a leader, I think his game has really taken another step forward. He's made a couple huge plays for us already, and he's kind of the dude that's calm, cool, and collected, can help get everybody lined up. And so I'm really proud of him. He's been awesome. The corners, I just think those guys are really good. I mean, the way that they prepare and their demeanor playing the position, they're consistent, they're resilient, they're competitive, and they just don't change from snap to snap. And I think from that, when you're out there on an island, that's really important. If you're going to have success over time, you got to be able to do that. And those guys both have a lot of ability, but mentally are really sharp. Tico, how much time do I feel like everybody on the defense is new, so that's been really the coolest part, is just to see them all get the opportunities and see them play well and just watch them throughout the week of practice. And so I think ultimately we can tell, we feel like we have a lot of ability. After the first week, just the importance of being consistent was really the message. I think we were on the field for, 63 plays and gave up 260 yards against Mercer, and 200 of those yards were in 7 plays. And you could probably remember which ones they were, but that's really all it takes. And so if we want to be as good as we're capable of being, we need to be more consistent. I think that showed up on Saturday night, and it's not only your play, but it's your approach, and the consistency was, I think, what helped us pull through at the end. So I'm really excited. I liked your question earlier, like what motivates you, and it's just we have so many great dudes that are all playing together for the first time, and we're just trying to help guide them along the way, because I think the sky is the limit for that group, and we've got a lot of work ahead and a lot of improvement to make, but you can just see it in there because you feel like you got the right type of people. And so I'm excited to see how we play on Saturday. I'm excited to see how we practice tomorrow. I think there's I think we have a chance to be good. I just really feel good about the people. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and like we said, like it's kind of unique, these FBS games, because It's another chance on national TV. Yeah, it's later, which in some ways, like more people, as we've all done in our lives, like you just there's only a handful of games on at 9 o'clock at night. So you're like, yeah, shoot, I'll tune into Hawaii, SMU, whatever, And so it's like you're
Yeah.
gonna have eyeballs, and it's a homecoming for you, and yet we're really hopeful that it's going to be a competitive game, and that the Aggies are going to represent well, and then obviously we're all behind you guys and rooting for you. So hope it's a good experience for yourself, Coach. Appreciate you hanging out with us late. I know you got a lot of work to do this week to get ready, but looking forward to seeing you on Saturday, and good luck.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me. Thanks for the flexibility, and yeah, really excited to be able to get up there, and we got a lot of work in the meantime to put in to make sure we can play our best.
Sweet.
So
It's been a pleasure, Coach.
yeah, hope to meet you in person, Bobby, and
Likewise.
yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
we'll
guys.
be there. We'll be around, and hopefully see you pregame or Friday or something like that. But when you go to leave, it'll just finish uploading. You can just leave it open, or you can go into another tab or something, but just leave it open on your laptop, and then we'll be all set. But we'll see you Saturday, Coach.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thanks, bro.
Appreciate
See
you,
ya.
Coach.
You guys.
Cool, dude. All right. That was awesome. We just had Coach Coombs on. Coach Coombs is the man. And I don't know if we're going to have this go before or after, because he kind of just joined us mid thought. But we were talking about how explosive the Washington offense is, how they're literally 2 years removed from FBS national championship game, a game in which you were at. And I think just kind of one of my what to watch fors, Bobby, is our very talented, deep, experienced defense against a very explosive Jed Fish offense. And I think something that you pointed out in watching the Mercer game is just like how insane the Connor brothers are. And the fact that Rex has 27 tackles in 2 games is insane. And really just wondering, like, how are those guys going to stack up against an FBS program that's maybe like the fringe top 25 team? So, and in my like what to watch for or who to watch of all the names, it really is the Connors brothers, who are marquee names for our program. Like, these guys physically are like the Bobby Erskines of the 2025s. Like, physically, they can compete well and on par with a Power 4 program. That's why they got transfer offers and NIL deals from other schools, because people get this. So that's my what to watch for. Before we get to our Buckhorn score predictions, Bobby, open-ended. You can talk about your early season UC Davis takeaways from the games you watch. You can talk about your what to watch for, or you can just talk about your festivities and how you're looking forward to seeing your buddy Jay. So, dealer's choice. You pick and choose where you want to go with it.
I am looking forward to just a weekend of amazing football, and really seeing the guys compete. I hated when I played, or I hated the thought that these were always just fluff games, that it was kind of just good for us and overlook it. Our coaches obviously prepared us, but just that thought or that sentiment just always sat wrong with me. And I know these, Coach Coombs is going to prepare these guys accordingly. And, you know, like you said, the Rex brothers, I think in another timeline would absolutely be at Washington. I think they're those type of players. And I know there's some of these newcomers and some of these other guys that are making an impact right away. I think we're going to see much more of a competition than Washington is expecting. So I really think, led by Rex Connors, I mentioned 27 tackles. Like, if a team defense is getting 27 tackles for a safety, that's usually a sign of a bad defense. But because they're just breakdown in defense, but that's just Rex is able to fly around and he's in on plays all the time. So credit to this team, credit to what Coach Coombs has built, and I think we're going to see a great competition. Some Aggies really showing some Aggie pride.
That's right. And he's got the Bobby Erskine long hair too, the Danny Hart long hair. So he's a part of that club too. What did you say? It was a Lost Boy or something like that? The Lost Boys. I didn't know. I didn't know that you guys had a name for yourself. My hair never got quite that long. I was like trapezoids. But that was as low as I got with mine. I will go into the Buckhorn Grill, Buckhorn Meat score predictions. And as much as I get criticized at times for my score predictions because I'm a realist and I can be kind of hard on the Ags, even though I love the Ags. I predicted us beat Cal last year. I will say that. We did not beat Cal, but you were there in the press box with Dwight and I. We were just as good as Cal. Like, we faded a little bit, but like the first half we dominated. We could have won that game. I've said this many times. Washington is better than Cal was last year. So I don't feel as confident to go out on a limb and say we're going to pull off the upset. I want to, but I'm not going to. I'm scared of what I've watched in their game against Colorado State. I think that quarterback is just freaky athletically, and they're good up front, like Coach Coombs tells us. They have good running backs. They have a really athletic receiver who's, top receiver in the country. And so I feel like Jordan Fisher's going to break loose for a big run. I feel like Caden Pinnock is going to scoot around and scramble like he did against Mercer and like show us how athletic he is too. And I think, it might be 21-7 at half. And I'm going with a final score of Washington 38, UC Davis 17. I think it's respectable. I don't think it's the 55-7 loss that Coach Hawk had against Oregon State a few years ago. I also don't think it's when we beat Tulsa in 2021. Tulsa, they did go to a bowl game that year, but they're not that good. They're not what Washington is. So final score from Alaska Airlines Field in Seattle, UC Davis 17, Washington 38. Bobby, you can be the good guy and say we win 50-0, but give us your Buckhorn Grill score prediction before we go.
Yeah, I mean, I have a bit more optimistic view of it than you perhaps, but I also want to be realistic about expectations. And again, a very 2 years removed playing in the FBS championship. I mean, this is as good as it gets. So I am going to say that, coming off the momentum from last week, the defense is going to play phenomenally well. I think we're going to hold them to 24 points. I think we'll score 17. I think Pinnock is actually going to have a breakout game and establish himself as good as he is, and going to be really just a force to be reckoned with. I think we're going to dominate on special teams. Okay. I think we have, and the defense is going to do what they do. So 24-17 Washington, but I think we can walk away with our heads held high and use that as momentum for the rest of the season.
That'd be a damn good outcome, man. And I like it. And if it's 24-17 and we're on the sidelines, losing our minds, and believe it or not, Husky Stadium holds more fans than Lumen Field, where the Seahawks play. So most likely it's not a sellout. Most likely there's, 55,000 fans at the game or something like that is what feels right to me. Maybe more. But they have the covered roof, so it's super loud, and I'm excited to take it in. I'm excited for the Friday night happy hour at Bellevue Brewing Company. I'm excited for potentially a better than crappy round of golf with you, and then just just being able to like watch the Ags and seeing people we know and meeting new people and listeners of the pod I know going, and it's going to be awesome. So thanks for hopping on, Bob. You were the man. You did great. And you in Seattle at a brewery in Ballard.
I think the Ags are going to be traveling in full force. I think we're going to have a good student section. And I'm excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. and it's going to be loud. So let's pack some
Let's
earbuds.
do it. All right, man. Go Ags.
Go Ags.
And that's going to do it for this episode of Aggie Pride. Big thanks to Coach Matt Coombs for joining us, and to all of you Aggie fans for listening in. Don't forget, subscribe to the show on Spotify for $5 a month for early access to episodes, bonus episodes. You can also follow the show on Apple or YouTube so you're locked in all season. If you want one of these Aggie Pride Podcast hats that I'm rocking, head over to AggiePridePodcast.com. We're almost sold out. Follow us on Instagram and X for live reactions, clips, and updates from the games. And if you're making the trip to Washington this weekend, come say hi. We'd love to see you at the Friday Night Happy Hour or at the game on Saturday. Until next time, go Ags.